Hey everybody, this is this is our first time naming the show. It's gonna be called The Road to 150. With it will be myself, Davis Peng, known as Peng's Picks, writer for Fantasy Six Pack and Stochastic, and the owner of the channel, your playoff champion. Well, one half, but still the champ. The ever so dope Hope, plus some guests every now and then.
Yeah.
Hope, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Davis. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Just rocking a different shirt today, but
I
that's
know.
good. We don't draft you deep.
Yeah, it's exciting to finally have a name. We spent many a times in chats trying to figure something out. I think we settled in on the wanting 150 to be a part of it because it's a big part of this brand and this game, and it's important.
It's what we do. We draft 150 teams
it
for
is
all
what
these
we do,
20s.
and we just had to kind of figure out how we wanted to set it up. But I like it. It really grew on me. It was the first one where I went, "Yep, that's it. That's it."
I'm glad. I got it. It took a minute, but we rather than just saying like "Welcome to show," question mark, we get to finally call it. But and if you guys know anything about myself or Hope from last year, I think we drafted like 700 teams each or 600 teams each. Like we maxed out like I know for me, with Puppy 1, 2, 3, BBM, and then maybe like 50 to 100 drafts in other contests, and then Hope you maxed out what all the puppies, all four.
No, so you went harder than me last year. I was not as all in. Not that I wasn't. I maxed 2 contests, Puppy 3 and Puppy 2, and then playoff. I maxed both of the mitten returns playoffs.
Oh yeah, I forgot it.
I did 150 drafts literally in a single day of
Yeah.
The contest I won, the mitten returns. Again, I think it was a long title there, but I did 150 of those in one day. And it paid off. It paid off.
You were at work too, right? You were at work or like getting off work or whatever. You're like,
yeah, I was. No, I drafted from like 8 a.m. until it closed, all during work, just with my phone sitting on my desk, 2 at a time, just pop, pop, pop. See, those playoff drafts are so easy though. I mean, they've got a defined structure. It's very easy to draft those, and they're also a huge edge still in those, and hopefully will be next year.
I mean, we're speaking to a small few of like who does 150. Like, let's be real.
You don't have
to.
Do
it in
you
a
definitely
day.
don't have to.
You don't have to. And if you do it in a day, it's wider.
I did only 20 BBMs last year. I didn't have quite the bankroll I have now, and I only did 20 BBMs, and I was 1 point, maybe 2 points away from making the finals on 20 entries. And so it shows if you draft the good structure and you know how to play the game, you can do it without 150. Obviously, like the more bullets you get, I believe the better chances you have. Obviously, the odds would tell you that, but it's not a must. I think everyone needs to be smart with their bankroll management and play within their means. But it's one of our favorite things to do. It's our biggest hobby, and so yeah, we won 50 max.
And I always want to point this out, like for all the guys.
I didn't 150 max the big board. I only got to 120.
I got like 40, I think.
You started later.
Together, we hit 150.
Yeah, you started later on that than I did, but yeah.
I just can't. I can't ever do big board that much. To be fair, though, the odds are favorable for you because it is top 3 of 12 rather than 2 of 12.
I know, it's such a good next year, and we're just going to talk a little bit today about how our plans for, the next few contests and things like that. But looking back for next year, big board and like rookies and sophomores, I hit the rookies and sophomores a little hard. I did 100 entries in that. And I think for that, it was a little excessive. I think the ADP was the best on day 1. And so that's something if you're looking at getting in contests, especially like rookies and sophomores. I plan to probably next year do like 50 or so, maybe more on day 1. And then, the first couple days there, and then after it's been open for a little while, kind of back off on that. And then do 150 in the big board next year. That's kind of my I'm already planning next year and all the drafts I'm gonna do. But that's something I plan to do for next year.
Rookie and sophomore was my worst category because I kept thinking I was smarter and be like, what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna just grab the sophomores and like not so much of the rookies. And then I lost.
You're not a big college fan, are you? So it's understandable.
Yeah, it's college is cool. I mean, for what it is, I don't know. I have a hard time trusting like people I haven't personally seen and I don't know what team they're on, like what's gonna happen to them. It's like it's kind of scary at times. It's a lot of unknowns. Anyways, like Tarek said that he only got 78 in. But by the way, 78 is a lot for big board. Let's not like
Yes, it is. I saw plenty of like some of the bigger.
not an easy amount of money to put into something, especially this early when we still have 6 months before the first game. Oh, sorry, 5 months before the first game even starts. So anything can occur. So as I said, it's a little risky. It's why I don't do a ton of big boards, even though I had a 50% advance rate last year, which is proud of myself. But it's even then, I'm not sitting here going like I gotta go nuts on these. And anyone that's new to best ball, like take this time to like really jump into the summer. Listen to a lot of guys who've been doing this for years. I mean, Hope herself did last year, your first year, right?
Yeah, last year was my first year to go hard at best ball. I think I did about 450 teams on Underdog, and yeah, first year to really go hard into it. And so yeah, there were contests. I think I did 70 and maybe popped one, and then I won a couple PGAs, and so I went a little bit into the Superflex, which was a really bad decision on my part. I did terrible in Superflex. But
Oh
yeah,
no! Oh,
I
looks like
saw
our
that.
contest is starting. Let's
Yeah,
pull up our screen really quick.
yeah, we'll
But
do
like I said,
both.
if you're new and you're starting with big board, it's not easy to go with it. So just reminder of that. Use the summer, to get better at the game.
Yeah. We are already in a draft. A little unconventional. Obviously, there's no drafts open at the moment, but this is a cash game. So we always like to draft on stream, and this will still give us a chance to talk about kind of the main point we want to get in. And the guys that we're lower on, and so we'll talk about them as we get into this draft. But you want to start with your first guy that you're worried about. Maybe you didn't draft as much of them in the big board as you were hoping, or maybe you intentionally didn't draft a lot of them and you're thinking, this guy could bury me.
Justin Jefferson, I'm just kidding. No, I didn't get a lot of 101s. That's not the reason I got him. But no, Devontae Adams. He's a good player. He's someone that is obviously elite. He would be a 101 if he was like playing with like Mahomes, right? Like we would be debating like who is he a top 3 guy? But because he's a Raider and he's playing with Jimmy G, we're back to questioning like how good is he this year? But we did this last year with Derek Carr, and
we did.
And I'll admit that I took him last year because I did believe in Derek Carr more than I believe in Jimmy G. But this year, I find myself off of Devontae Adams, and it's because I'm just like, well, can Jimmy G throw down the sideline? And I'm like, wait, that's bad logic. And then I'm like, I'm gonna catch myself, and I end up not getting a lot of Devontae Adams. So I have a feeling like when Devontae Adams gets like 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns again, I'm gonna be like, I knew. Why am I betting against talent? He is a quarterback-proof player at this point. So that's my first one. Who's yours?
I agree on that. Let's start a little on Devontae Adams because I was the same way last year. Where I wasn't the same. I still drafted him, but the narrative out there was he's going from Rodgers to Carr. He had all that rapport with Rodgers. Now, of course, Carr was the college teammate, so he did have that built in. But yeah, he had the same, as good of a season, 1,500 yards, 14 touchdowns, 100 catches. I mean, he's Devontae Adams at the end of the day. And this year for me, the one part I'm a little not nervous about, but they have a lot of guys who play great out of the slot. We know Devontae Adams himself. Now, he can play outside, of course, with the best of them, but he does do a lot of damage in the slot. And, right now they have Jacoby, they have Renfro, even brought in Hooper, who play in the middle of the field. So, there's a lot of questions there, I think. And then, of course, Jimmy's ability to push it outside versus, his usual, what he likes to do is, attack the middle. So I'm a little nervous about that. But, I mean, again, it's Devontae Adams. So you go CeeDee Lamb at the 1-5. Mm-hmm. We are kind of battling it out in this one. Davis is at the 1-5. I'm at the turn. So it should be a fun draft. So my first guy is Derrick Henry. And the reason is he's Derrick Henry, right? Everyone was kind of worried about it, the same thing last year. And what does he do again? 1,500 yards, 13 touchdowns, even has the most receptions of his career by almost double at 33, almost 400 yards receiving. He didn't find the end zone through the air, but he's still so good. But the reason for me is the offensive concerns, age 29 running back, but mainly it's the offense because, he did have the foot injury as well. Like there's just some bits and pieces around him that, make me nervous, but he's still the guy. Like we know the upside of peak Derrick Henry. And so it's there, but the offense now, and it's one of those things I'm with all of these guys I'm lower on now. I'm totally willing to change my opinion as we go over the summer. If they make a big splash at quarterback or something like that that gives me more confidence in the offense, I'll definitely be down to change my opinion there.
Well, you're at the 1-2 turn, so that means Derrick Henry's up first, right? No, I'm just,
And
I mean,
that's
well,
another point on him though too. Like even if they bring in, like I don't know who else they would bring in. Because the Lamar stuff seems like it's not going to happen, even though it makes a lot of sense for them. Um, but who would that even be? They bring in that like Derrick Henry would rise up, pass. And another reason too, like you look at these guys. So for me, in this range he goes, I like Chubb, Pollard, Jacobs, Etienne all over him, especially these younger guys who are more involved in the pass game. I still like Nick Chubb a lot as well. But I just like all the guys that go right after him, and this is a great range. I even like Brees Hall as obviously he's coming off the injury, but I'm still in on Brees Hall. He showed so much last year. It's just I like the other guys better where he goes.
no, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think that's a bad take by any means, right? So my only qualm that I think that people have against Henry is like, hey, well, that team doesn't look bad, right? And every time we say that, I go like, well, let's think about like bad teams last year that had relevant running backs, right? The Falcons were a bad team. How'd they win? They ran the ball like 36 to 42 times a game. The Bears are a bad team. How'd they win? They ran the ball 36 to 42 times. So when I think of like, well, if there's no quarterback or this is, a crappy team, well, how are they going to win? They're just going to hand the ball to a pretty good running back and they'll be fine.
Really?
And that's how I have always viewed it. And as much as I don't think that, whatever quarterback ends up there, if it's Tannehill again or because they know that there's no other way to win the game besides grinding that ball out. And I think that's the one advantage that Henry is always going to have is he's 29. He started off late in his career. He didn't really get a lot of usage until his like fourth year in the league, third or fourth year. And Mariota kind of sucked. Like watching Mariota last year just reminds everybody like he sucked. Okay,
Yeah.
Tannehill took that team further in his first half season as a Titan than Mariota has ever done. So Mariota was not a good quarterback. So what does that mean? That means the next guy comes in. It's probably the same scenario. It's just going to be another crappy quarterback that comes in and they just do this, hand the ball to Henry until he breaks, right? And then you probably won't get 400 touches or 350, but you'll probably still get 280 to 300 and round 2-3. Like I'm willing to pick that up because I don't want to say bad offenses can't score points,
Right.
because we were proven wrong last year. But I had a ton of Tyler Algier, so.
He says you can't fade him in that range because his spike weeks are higher than anyone else. I mean, maybe. I mean, we saw Tony Pollard score 40 points last year. We saw Josh Jacobs spike weeks last year were insane. Etienne had a couple, so I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. But I mean, no one scored 50 in that range, I don't believe, except Derrick Henry, so that makes sense. Oh, actually,
I will
Jacobs did
say I
last
like the fact that he's on the turn though. So like if you happen to go receiver and you're like, well, I want to grab a receiver and then running back, or receiver, running back, wide receiver, or I feel like Henry really complements like if you're the 101 to like 105. I feel like you're really getting a lot out of him.
You
So
are.
if
I
he
mean,
was
they
more
also
like
lost a couple offensive linemen as well. That's good. I know the Bears signed Nate Davis. I think Ben Jones is in Denver, I believe, their center. So I'm a little nervous about
I
that.
don't
And
know.
now, look, there's a chance he gets traded. And if he goes to a great situation, where do you think he goes as far as rising up if he gets traded? Does
I
he
still
go
think
much higher than this, or is he just going to be about the same
if he
range? Like,
if he gets traded, he'll definitely go up, right? Because it's like I said, it's just gonna be a contender team that takes him. Like it's not like the Falcons are gonna take him. It's not gonna be some like some Garbaggio team that's just gonna grab him. It's not gonna go from the Titans to the Titans. He's probably gonna go on a team that's just gonna be better off. So I think he would move up value. I think at round 3, he's at his floor, maybe mid round 3s, right? His name has a lot of weight still.
I mean, it does, but I just can't imagine he goes higher. Like maybe he goes a full round, like he's in this Eckler T range.
I
But
mean,
like,
he
is
could
he
still
really
go to
going to
the
go?
Bills. Realistically, he could
No,
still be there.
I don't think so. Not with the
Damien
Damien
Harris
Harris.
didn't get paid enough.
I mean, that's fair, but I just don't feel like they're the type of. I don't know. They were rumored for him, but it doesn't feel like a Bills move at this point to me. I don't know. I just don't. I mean, Cincinnati's the one place if he went there, but then he's going to go next to T, and that would be weird. So I don't know. I don't see him rising like up to the 1-2 turn, no matter where
Oh
he
no,
goes.
no.
So that's why I don't feel bad at like, fading him now. And then if he goes to a situation I like more, then wow, I'll take him a round higher. It's not a situation where he's going to go from here to the 105, right? Like if Tony Pollard, if the Cowboys don't bring anyone in and they roll with him as the one and maybe
Okay,
a rookie
but
we're not as excited about, Tony Pollard's at least going up here with Jonathan Taylor, Bijan, if not higher. I mean, people love Tony
I
Pollard.
mean, but can Tony Pollard survive 280 touches?
We don't know that.
I
I
don't
just think
believe so.
he's so efficient and what he can do through the air as well. I'm not as concerned with that. I mean, we know the Cowboys aren't going to give him those touches. I mean, they've said that. So,
And that's my point. Like we know he's never going to get that many touches, and as efficient as he is, like you do need touches. You need as many touches as you can get to get your upside. If someone said, "Hey, man, like, well, you get Devonte Adams, but Devonte Adams alone gets 140 targets. He gets like 90." I mean, are you stoked?
right. No,
Probably
it's
not,
tough.
right? I like I said, I don't think he moves up hard, but at the 2-3 turn, it's a very good
You took
benefit
him.
versus a mid two. Yeah, if you grab him in the mid two, it sucks.
Yeah.
But a 2-3 turn, that's huge because you get to get your third pick and build around it differently. So that's my strategy on that.
Yeah.
But then, so my next guy, when I typed it originally, I thought it was kind of out. I thought you were thinking I was joking. But Matthew Stafford is somebody that I didn't take a lot of. And I don't think
I
many
didn't
people did.
either. No. I think
But
there was a lot of retirement rumors for him, right? That kind of,
still,
especially when the big board started.
yeah, and there still is like there's a chance he just goes, but he's making so much money that he's going to play, right? I think he's making like $36 million just to like exist. So I do think the Rams might run it back with him 1 year, and I don't expect him to be like some world beater, his Super Bowl year. But he's gonna be someone's quarterback three that's gonna have like these random like 30-point games,
He
and
could.
I'm gonna just be so pissed because he could have been my quarterback three and give me 30 points, right?
Yeah.
Because Stafford at the end of the day is still very talented.
He
Stafford
is.
at the end of the day is still young enough that he's going to be like a good player and whatnot. He does not going to be deprived. But at pick 180, ADP 180, I feel like it's worth a pop shot.
Yeah.
Because he's still a good player, still talented, still a Sean McVay. And I feel like I'm going to be eating it at some point, like in a playoff game where he throws for, 3 touchdowns and 350 yards, right? And we're just like,
Yeah.
well, I'm eliminated, and it's because I have no quarterback three like Stafford. Because there is no other quarterback three like Stafford when you think about it.
I think for me, a reason I didn't have as much Stafford is because I don't have as much Cup. Now, Cup's not a guy faded by any means, but in the first round, I had Tyreek ahead of him. So a lot of times, if I got the 4, if I got the 5, I'm just taking Tyreek over Cup. So I think as far as like my exposures in the top 12, which you would laugh, like it's hilariously flat. In my big board exposure. I mean, literally, I think it's all like between 7 and 10%, everyone in the top 12 in the first round. But Tyreek is on that higher end and Cup's on that lower end. And I think just taking him, not having as much, caused me to not have as much Stafford as well.
Yeah. I don't take a lot of Cup either because I always ask myself, like, man, he's gonna get injured. Like, is he gonna get injured? And that's always semi bad logic. But this man has never finished a season really, besides his crazy year. So I do question myself at times when I don't take Cup, which in turn, like you said, makes me not want to take Stafford. But then I take a lot of Ben Jefferson and like a lot of Higbee, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I should be grabbing this
Yeah,
guy.
you should. I would imagine you would have had more Van Jeff than you do for the amount. So you get McLaurin here. What my next guy's at the top of the board here, Andrews. It's weird. I didn't really fully fade like the Lamar situation. Yeah, Tarek says he was taking Stafford and throwing a dart at Van Jefferson. That sounds a lot like you were intending to do. You just didn't end up with as much Stafford. But you've got the Van Jeff for sure.
The Van Jeff Higbee's the naked Van Jeff Higbee combo.
When they go off and Stafford's got 35 in week 17 and you don't have them, but you have the other two, you're going to be tilting so hard. But Mark Andrews, for me, I'm a big elite tight end person, but I think the reason I don't have as much of him is because this range of wide receiver, these 3 that went, DJ Moore, McLaurin, Kirk less so, and I don't have much Kirk. I guess, as you can tell, I drafted Ridley in this draft. I don't think he's the talent these other guys are. But back to Andrews, I really love this range of receiver. And what I like even more is the tight ends that you can get down the board here, starting with Waller, like 40 picks later. I just love this kind of range. And Joku, I love. Fryermuth, I have so much of. Um, and Andrew, just the situation with Lamar, the Baltimore offense is, I don't know. Monken's exciting because he did use a lot of tight ends in Georgia the last few years. I mean, a lot. So, like, that is something. If Lamar comes back, everything's all settled. I think I'll have a lot of more Lamar and then Lamar and Andrews in the next draft, the next tournament. But this one I just didn't end up on him as much because the 20 rounds I was doing a lot more late tight end.
Yeah, it stings like not taking Andrews, but I just don't want to grab him. I did, like I said, Lamar's part of the issue there. But I will say the counter talk on it is when Huntley was there, Huntley gave Andrews some of the best games he's ever had. Yeah. Right, that offense runs through him. The receiving core is way worse than him. I think what changes a lot for me, and this is something we take for granted, is that J.K. Dobbins and Gus are back. Yeah. Right, like Dobbins was really good when he was healthy, like really, really good. And I think why Andrews benefited so hard is because they weren't healthy. They weren't available. They had it, they were using, these rando like running backs like Justice Hill and like, Tyrell, I think, like I forgot his name, Thornton. They used them once,
right?
So it does kind of scare me to not take those kind of players, because to not take Andrews because we don't know what that offense looks like healthy. Like the Ravens haven't been healthy in like 3 years now.
Yeah,
they've always hurt or there's always something missing. But those running backs came back. I think Andrews took a hurt, but he does get a lot of red zone. I still think he's relevant. But part of the other reason I don't take him is like I just like Goddard. I think Goddard is basically Andrews, but 20, 30 picks later. And I like him more than Waller because he has Hurts, right? Like, so you're between like, well, if I grab Waller, I just go, well, I would rather grab the better quarterback version of that Waller, right? Like, and who survived more games.
Yeah, I got a question though, or kind of a counter. You know me, I like to play devil's advocate there. I see you took JSN. No, so my point would be, would you not be a little worried that Goddard has AGB and Devonta to compete with, Hurts rushing to compete with, whereas Waller has that just amalgamation of the Giants wide receiver core. And then obviously, Daniel Jones is a lot lesser quarterback than Jalen Hurts, and he does rush a little as well. But it just feels like, I mean, like the draft is going to change so much. But I just feel like if Waller has a good, healthy season, I mean, I think he could be a monster. Whereas Goddard, I think, has a lot of competition there. I know he's a great player as well. Like, I'm not too worried about it. But that's kind of something there where I might, push back a little bit. So what are you thinking on that?
No, it's fair. I mean, yeah, the competition for them is a lot worse. But I think when you look at the actual role of every Eagles player, all the short stuff is Devontae Smith. All the short to middle stuff is Goddard. And AJ Brown is not the short stuff. I remember one of the videos I sent to you, like during the year, I was like, I think AJ Brown's really good, but he's like so shit at like slant routes or in routes. And you remember he's like, and he lost them the game. And I was just like, and it's not because I don't think he's good at. He kind of like gives them up. And I watched him drop tons of screens last year too. So when you say competition for AJ Brown and is to Goddard, it's the deep shots are competitive, but you're never Goddard's not goes anyways, right? He's getting like short to mid routes.
I don't like any of these picks right here.
I do think their defense is going to take a step back, so there might be some more throwing. They're not going to be able to lead games like they used to, like they did last year. And like I said, I'm buying it for just a couple ADP part, right? Where Goddard's like pick 70 and like Waller's 80 and climbing. So it's not like they're far, far apart. Whoa.
I don't recommend doing this in real drafts, but this is a confined cash game. There's no playoff weeks. There's no like value I have to worry about for the rest of the tournament and them getting it. I'm trying to play the Cleveland bounce back. I reach, and the reason is there's no other QB on the board between now and then. I would never do this in the big board or a tournament style, but in this confined cash game, I'm going to go get my stack here because there's no other, he's going to go before it gets back to me because I'm at the turn. And I'm trying to win this one league. I don't have to worry about the value somebody else got him at or anything else. I didn't even love the picks there. So
I guess I'm glad you alluded to that. So cash games are obviously different than the regular tournaments. it's total points. Like, so doing correlation of like, well, I got to win week 17, 16, 15. Not necessarily that. You're just taking, I get crap for this, but best player on board, what you think is going to increase your point total.
Right.
Point total is a big deal, right? At the end, like when I play this, I don't play for, it's about consistency. At the end of the day, like how often can my team score 120 to 150 points every week? It's not can this team get 180? Because that's not what's going to win it. If you ever see my winning rosters in cash games, they're just consistent teams. They're just like, oh, this team scored on average like 140 every week, and 140 every week is going to win you most cash games.
Right.
If you're playing for like, oh, this guy can get one good week, that's incorrect. Like, that's not how you should be playing it. And that's why a lot of my players are a little bit more consistent. Like CeeDee Lamb is a guy that I think he's going to be used every week. I don't think AJ Brown's going to get used every week.
Makes sense, actually.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I just, when we look at CeeDee Lamb, can we say there's going to be a game where he doesn't get like 7 and 80? But when we look at AJ Brown, he might get like 3 receptions on 7 targets. It's like, because that's kind of how that works. So
right.
I would rather have Tyreek Hill, but he's already gone. So I had to settle for CD or Adams. I was actually considering taking Adams there too. Taking my boy Goddard.
You got him. Yeah, I'm excited. We'll see what happens in this next turn. Reaching a little bit. Yeah, I would never do that in a real tournament.
I mean, the QB points matter. These quarterbacks are so
they do.
bad.
And I think like the ceiling on Deshaun is still there if he bounces back. There's still a lot of other quarterbacks I like as well. But for this cash game, I've been trying to set up this stack. That's the Cleveland stack. I don't want to root for Deshaun, but I was listening to an interview with their coach, and it really seems like they're going to open it up more this year. Stefanski, sorry, I couldn't think of the name.
Your team is actually really nice though. Like even if you look off the ADP, you're just like, oh, like 3 strong receivers, all in the middle 30s. 2 running backs and like Deshaun Watson. It's not and it's like 2 good running backs. I wouldn't hate this at all.
No, I don't.
And this might even be a thing if like Deshaun happens to put up really good camp. I wouldn't be surprised if he moves up.
I agree. I think there will be more steam for them. Elijah Moore coming on board. I at least think that's what they're going to try and do. Maybe he's just bad now. And there's a chance of that. He looked horrible last year, and so we'll see. But yeah, for this cash game, I don't mind that.
So my last player that I think I was going to talk about a little bit, which is Michael Thomas, is a guy that I've been getting a little bit, and I wish I would have grabbed him when he was in the 120s, 130 range. And I get it. He's been injured every year, but here's the thing: when he did play last year, I think every week he did was good, right? Like I don't think he had a bad week. He just didn't play. Right. And the Saints said, we're going to pay you $15 million to stay with us again for 1 more year. And I don't know what that means, but you would think that if they really were just like, we're done with you, they would let him go. So for $15 million with Derek Carr, which is better than Jameis Winston, okay, better than Andy Dalton, okay, like better than those guys, sign me up for a little bit of Michael Thomas. And I think when we look at him, I would hate to see another person have him as like their 5th receiver. Like I'm like, oh, I get to face you with, my rookie and is my 5th receiver and yours is Michael Thomas. Like he's like, that just does not feel good. So I've been trying to like get back onto like, I should be grabbing some more MT. I messed up by not grabbing them.
Yeah. And that's a good thing too, to talk about like for the next tournament, right? No one got that 50 picks ADP value that you didn't. So if there's a guy, you are more interested in drafting at this point, you didn't get the value, take him now, or take him in the new tournament. It's something you don't have to worry about. I like that reset. I like how fast the tournaments feel, actually. BBM's a whole different beast of it being open the entire summer. And I think you do have to play that game theory of if there's a guy who all of a sudden rises up like Dameon Pierce did last year, like, and all these people who got him, 10th, 12th round, and now he's going 4th, 5th. Like I don't know. I'm of the mind you don't take him anymore because I think that's just too much value you're giving up. What's your opinion on that? Like something like the Dameon Pierce situation, or for a BBM style contest that's going to be open the whole summer, somebody who rises from the double-digit rounds all the way to like 4th, 5th round, say you didn't get a lot of him. Are you playing catch up, or are you just being like, you know what, I didn't get him, so I'm just not going to have
I
that much of
mean,
them.
I would say I would pass. I would pass on him. But if I believe that that one person was really that talented, so let's say like who is someone that did kind of move up, but like at the same time not really, just enough, right? Like
I don't know.
we'll go with someone that's like actually pretty good. Let's say like Brees Hall, right? He was a fifth round guy, and then the camp showed up. It looked great. They gave him all the great news, and he moves up 3 rounds. By the way, fifth to sixth round to like second or third might as well be dead rounds to picks round 6. So, but let's say Brees
Big
hella
difference.
went up, and I'm just I think the argument is there. If you really believe this guy's gonna pay, if you don't believe they're gonna pay, then it's not worth it, right? If it's just hype train, like oh my god, like Davis is sitting here like saying how great this dude is, like no, that's not what you're doing for. If you actually truly believe this guy's that talented, that he's that difference maker, there is always going to be an exception for those guys, right? Like
Yeah.
Odell was someone that didn't start his first 4 games when he got hurt, but I'm telling you now, after that, when he did that, his big catch, when I played that guy every week, and I don't care what the value was. Odell had like a 1,200 yards at the end of the season. So the value doesn't change the yards. Yeah, you're losing value, but at the end of the day, it's all about week 17, week 16, the playoffs, and that guy being relevant those weeks. ADP is not going to give you 100 extra points because you took him earlier or later.
It's not,
So,
but it can make your team a lot stronger if you got an additional 4th-round pick plus a guy now going in the 4th round,
oh yeah,
in the 10th.
one person gets an advantage.
It makes your team a lot stronger.
Yeah, one person does get an advantage out of it, but I would say don't hamstring yourself further because, like I said, there are exceptions to them. I don't think Damian Pierce is one of them.
Yeah,
but there was a guy that could have done that and become relevant. I would be kicking my butt. I would if I was week 17 and it was like Damian Pierce puts up a 45-point game, and with them the guy that he took my 5th rounder I took didn't do anything. I would feel terrible. I'd be like, well, I could have grabbed this guy at 5th or 6th, and there's a lot of bad 4th, 5th round, 6th round guys. I have Darnell Mooney. Like doesn't matter. The answer, it doesn't. You lose an advantage if someone does, but you have 18 picks, just like he or she does. You've got to make up at some point. So
I think that's fair, and there's a chance you get combos with players that the people who drafted 10th round Damian Pierce didn't get when he rises up the boards. But I don't know, it's a tough click, especially like I think situation too. Like looking back at last year, I mean it's like the Texans starting running back, and like don't get me wrong, Damian Pierce had some really good games, but he didn't change fantasy football last year, or change the outcome of anything. And
you
so
didn't get touchdowns.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like looking back, it's like if we're going crazy over the Texans starting running back for Davis Mills, like this awful team. But I don't know. I guess you don't.
Like it has to be something that you truly believe is like this game changing talent. Like you're betting on it, right? Like you have to make the bet. Like just don't take my word for it. Don't take hopes. Like if you sit there and actually believe this guy's a game changer, then that would make sense.
No,
anything other than that, probably not so much. And that's just my process on it, because it's like I said, if you're sitting about ADP, then all you're doing is hurting yourself at getting good players.
Right.
Like if you're trying to buy perfectly, sometimes you're just gonna fail. And that's why process for that, why I wouldn't take him, but because I just didn't believe in Pierce. But let's say it was Brees Hall. Would you get mad if you got Brees Hall at round 3 when people got him at 5? And let's say he played 17 games. Probably not, because there was a lot of bad round 2, 3 guys last year too.
Right. That makes sense.
It's definitely a tough pill to like swallow. It's not an easy person to want to take, especially Pierce if we're using that example. But I think when you're talking about like round 1 talents, round 2 talents, I think there's an exception for that. And that's what happened last year with big boards, right? The draft occurred. I think big board was still running one of the first years, and Najee jumped up like 30, 50 picks. And he had a great rookie year.
He did. Another one of my guys, Brandon Cooks. You tried to get me on him early. I don't know why I was so anti. I should have. Do what?
I was wrong on it though, because I thought he was going to be like a Bill or a Chief.
I mean, Dallas isn't that bad though, especially look, we're betting on the Gallup rebound a lot, but it could not happen. He could just not be the same after the injury, and all of a sudden now, Cooks comes in and could be the 2. So he's someone I don't know. I just have a bias against Brandon Cooks. I'm just not a huge fan of his, and so he's
Is it
someone
because
I.
he's old? You hate old short guys.
I mean, he's a fun player. He's 29, going on 30 as a speed guy, and I do think for like the speed guys, when it goes, it goes. Like if that's the way you win. But no, yeah, he's someone I wish I'd have got a little bit more of for sure. Didn't happen. I was really hoping Njoku would fall to me here, but that did not happen.
Nope.
But yeah, Cooks is someone I should have been more in on from the start. Like I should have. I mean, he's gonna get traded. All right, we gotta get our guys here. We're getting Pat Fryermuth.
No, I
And
mean,
we're gonna go ahead
I
and
get
stack it up with DPJ.
You're so stacking this. 2 Cleveland wide receivers. You can think Deshaun's gonna go off. Plus, then
This team is gonna dominate week 17 of this cash game. I even got the Pittsburgh bring back.
Oh my god. I do need to do the bringbacks more. I actually do think that
week 17, yeah.
That theory is actually a really good theory from Liam and the others about like, hey, division games is like it's a real thing.
And yeah, really I looked back and like I don't remember what the number was exactly, but yeah, week 16, 17. I mean, we know the NFL wants to stack those division games to make them more important, for the playoff seeding and everything. So I think especially next year to start the big board, that's something I'll do a lot more than I did even this year. So I think that's super, super, super sharp. And that's some of the stuff I love about best ball is just like that game theory aspect and finding those little edges that seem, and they probably don't matter as much, but still, like I don't know, that stuff's cool to me. And it's a fun way to play the game.
I mean, yeah. I mean, one of those things that we think about is like, how is this game played? There's many ways to play. There's many types of winners. There's a lot of talk that I see with a lot of streamers and content creators that's, I would say a little too sure of themselves. And they're like, oh, this is how you win. And it's like, well, anything can happen. I'll tell you this right now. The best team didn't win last year. Let's be real. Like, not saying that Pat's team was bad or no, it's just the fact that some of the best teams got knocked out.
Right.
Some teams just got hard pods. I was one of the rounds pods I was in. I scored like 196 points. And all I said to myself was like, I feel bad for everybody in my pod. They had to face off against like 195 point team. And my team wasn't that good. It just happened to just have it that week, which was 195 points, and then crushed them. And that could have been a winning team out of that pod.
Yeah.
So it's not the best team that wins. Or the best build at all. It's just sometimes they just get there. I've seen a 5 receiver team, I think, win like 25K before.
Yeah. So we don't need to get too deep into this, but we saw last year a lot of complaining about the pods and people feeling robbed that, oh, my team was so much better than that team that advanced. And I'm on team, like, read the rules. Like, know what game, like, know what game you're playing. Like, I get it. It's frustrating that you had this awesome team that finished second in one pod versus another and this and that, but like I think it's so much more fun. And there's some little tweaks I've seen that I wouldn't hate, but I played on the site, the shirt you're wearing, and no hate to them. It's a fun place to draft in a different style, but the sweat was over for me by like week 6. Like I just didn't get on the right guys and it was over. Versus Underdog, you have a chance if you get a team out out of that pod, like you have a chance. You have no clue.
You get Mike Evans to week 17 with Tom Brady stacks, you win. Like no, but it's
so much. It's so much fun. Like yeah, I mean, for like I said, for the other app, like I didn't open it after like week 6 because I was like, I don't know, none of my teams are any good, and it was time to move on because you can't make up those points. But once all the points are wiped away after week 14, it's so exciting and it's the game we play, and so I get it's frustrating, but I don't know. That's kind of my.
Do something to annoy you, right? What? Someone took their car? That's not cool.
No, you're gonna grab your third QB.
I wanted KJ Osborne to be on the board with my cousins and then not take him, just so you know. I was just gonna really not grab him.
Yeah.
Like no. I had a shot to grab this guy and I chose not to.
But what are your thoughts on that, on the pod system? Any changes you would like to see, or you think, hey, it's just a game we play, like what you're signing up for, and it's I don't know, I think it's exciting.
I think they made a great change last year, which was giving 2 advancements to the first round, and then 1 advancement after. I like that. I thought it was a good change. I don't think you can actually change the pods themselves. And I wasn't trying to harp on the pod mostly. It was more about like, you don't have to be the best team in the draft to win. Like you just got to be the best team in week 17 and kind of get lucky through 15, 16. So I don't want to sound like anything's definitive. And I think that's what's the best part. Like anyone that can win, anyone streaming, anyone that's new. I remember reading someone tweet post oh yeah, I entered one team into BBM and I made it to like the finals, and like he made like top 10 or something. I'm just like,
yeah,
I was stung, but I was like, but that's the game. I love it. I've been that team that I only entered 10 rosters and made it to like numerous semifinals when they used to pay huge on it.
I think that too. I like that the way it is, multiple different ways to play the game can win, because the player takes people, and I think it's really important to have both player takes and game theory and structure. But those, I saw a lot of people like, I drafted this much Josh Jacobs and I had Kelsey, and my team did nothing in the playoffs. I had a lot of Kelsey. I was so pumped to have all my Kelsey in the playoffs and didn't do anything. I didn't get any. Wow, Brian Robinson falling all the way back to me is huge, because I was only sitting at 2 RBs.
Well, you should let him go. I'm totally not going to draft him.
And P. Ryan, give me both.
I actually almost grabbed Robinson earlier, and I was like,
I thought you were going to. I was like, oh, you're getting Brian Robinson. But I like that, because like if you play the game and you build the structure for the playoff rounds and you correlate and all of that, like you have a chance just as much as the person who nails Josh Jacobs as a value. Like there's just so many different ways you can win. And that's what I like about it.
A couple of the highest scoring teams in every format, right? I think I was out of the top 500 in BBM, but top 3 in Puppy 2. I think I had a top 50 team in Puppy 1 and 3, something ridiculous like that. And like those weren't the teams that made it the furthest. Well, my Puppy 2 would have, if they would have got a point, it would have made it to the finals, but would have got blown out of the water. Yeah, because it was, I think when I calculated, it was like it was scored like 85 points in like week 17. And this is a team with like Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, Garrett Wilson, like DK Metcalf, like all the guys. Everyone's like, man, this would be great to have.
Right.
And it was the worst, like the absolute worst team that you could have had. So just draft, do what you got to do. Like I said, that's why I'm not sweating on the values all the time, because the value at the end of the day doesn't always matter. You do lose a little bit of something else, which sucks, but week 15, 16, 17, that value might not matter anymore.
Yeah, I thought one of the funniest things last year is after every round, everybody was posting, oh, what's your, look at this team I just got to week 16, or look at this team is so cool that advanced to the playoff rounds. Almost none of the ones I was super excited about did anything. And especially even the ones that got to week 17, I had 3 finals teams in Puppy 3. And my Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins stack did nothing. I think finished like 2 or 3 spots from last in the Puppy 3. And then I can't even remember the stack. My best team, which also did have like Gabe and T on it. So could have been really good, but who knows?
No, it's true. I mean, it's just a part of the game of that. And I do laugh at the people we post our rosters. I do it. I'll post my roster. Like, I really like this team.
Yeah, too.
I remember someone was like, when I was talking about the Spike Week guys, I was like, yeah, I have like 45 DK Metcalf going against the Chiefs. And everyone's like, dude, I would kill for that. And I'm like, and then like DK Metcalf like did nothing. He did nothing through the entire playoffs of best ball. Besides, I think week 14, he was like, okay. Sorry, 15. And I was just like, huh. This sucks. Like, like 1 in 3 games he did, like, and everybody wished they had KJ Osborne. Everybody wishes they had Zay Jones, and TJ Hawkinson was like the guy to have at that point. So I just love it. It's funny to me. So moving on to the lives, we know that this was a 20 round contest that we're doing in Big Board. Just remind everyone, if you are new, that the next rounds are 18. The next contests are usually 18 rounds or less, depending on the contest. Superflex, I believe, goes to 20. Know your formats. And one of the things that I want to give a tip on for a lot of guys that are in 18 rounds, like they just did a 20 to 100 drafts in 20 rounders, is that 18 rounders are different. It's much different. You can't take, on average 4 tight ends, on average 4 quarterbacks, on average, extra receivers. You have to build a little bit more concise. Yeah. So there's some certain builds that we'll bring up again, but we'll talk about a little bit. Like just the basic build is like the 3-5-7-3, and you'll see people who talked about the 3-4, 8-3, and so on and so on. But just know that 18 rounds is a different thing. So I mean, I'll leave it to you, Hope. Like, what would be a big tip that you would tell someone that's from going from big board to when Best Ball Mania opens up to Puppy 1 into 18 rounds?
Yeah, I think that's super important. Not, roster balance is something I'm more intrigued with. Like, just be in 18 rounds, you've got to be a little bit more careful. Like 20 rounds, you have more flexibility. Like, if you love that receiver, even though you probably need a running back on your team, you've got more rounds to make that up compared to an 18 round draft. I think I'm a little different in you, that I do a lot more 2 tight ends in 18 rounds and usually stick to 2 tight ends, especially if I take an elite tight end, it's a 2 tight end build, pretty much every time for me. Same for elite QB, or QBs that go high in the drafts. I'm doing a lot more 2, and so I think that's a way that you can make your rosters better. But yeah, just watch your roster allocation. It's a lot tighter. Even though it's only 2 rounds, it is a lot tighter when you move to 18 from 20.
First off, you're wrong. Okay, 3 tight end is always the way to go. No, I'm just kidding. No, that makes sense. And I just really want people to kind of get in that mindset, because we've been drafting thousands and thousands of teams on a 20 round roster. So it's a big difference. So moving forward, that just remember, you're not going to have those 2 extra picks. Yeah. You can't grab Austin Hooper as your random 20th pick tight end anymore. You're going to have to actually reach for him or whoever you're going to grab. Like, you need to allocate a little bit better. Like I said, just the standard build for starters, 3-5-7-3. I live in that zone a lot, but I have migrated to a different idea. And I think elite tight end is really, really strong right now, and always has been. Yeah. I still do 3 tight ends or 2 if I go with, because I usually go the Goddard route. I go with the mid-level, the mid-elite guys versus the top end. Outside of Kelsey, I feel like tight end 2 and 3 has always been so like questionable, because there really hasn't been a 2, 3, 4 consistent guy. They always rotate. It's just Kelsey that's been like the man for like the last almost decade at this point.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's crazy when you think about it like that. But yeah, like, do your builds, find out what works for you. Obviously mix it up. There is no such thing as the best build, but just know the flats. Just know that you're not getting those 2 extra picks. And that's going to really change when things sneak up on you. Go, well, I could grab a receiver here. And you're like, actually, no, I can't, because I'm already at like peak at 8 kind of situation.
Right.
Oh God, my team is not that good. Why do you have Anthony Richardson? What's wrong with you? There's no spike weeks.
Do what?
Spike weekend over here.
That's fair. No, he is more of, I don't know. You can tell, like, don't play cash games, so I'm just out here building a tournament team, just like I would normal.
I think my first season of cash games against Twitter, I think I won like 3 times my money. Me and Preston won like 3 times my money.
Over under on starts for Anthony Richardson this year?
I think under 3.
Under 3, wow.
Under 3.
That's hard to believe. What if he goes to the Colts?
He'll probably die because that O-line sucks. So like under 6, like,
no
way. I feel like the Colts would put him at 8, under 8. If he goes to the Colts, it's under 8. But if he goes to a real team, not like a real team, but like a team with like standard starter, like let's say Tannehill's the starter, you're looking at like under 4, under 3, under 4, something like that. You would have to go to almost a nearly naked quarterback team, in my mind.
I think so. A team like the Colts, I think he's playing 12 plus games. I really do. Maybe they roll Minshew out the first like 2, 3, 4. But if you take someone 4th overall, it's just, we see it every year where these coaches threaten. We saw it with Deshaun Watson. He played, it was like 2 quarters of Tom Savage, and they brought in Deshaun Watson. I mean, it was literally like
Tom Savage was like
he's
a backup to a backup.
No, he's horrible. I get that, but like, I don't know. Gardner Minshew's a little better than that, but still, like, if he goes to Colts, he's playing 12.
So let's say he ends up on a team with like a Jacoby Brissett guy, right? Let's say he ends up the Commanders some magical way. You think that Brissett and Howell will hand that game off to him to give him more than like 6 starts? Let's say Brissett's there, right? Like, let's say a Brissett tier type of guy, or a Ryan Fitzpatrick level type of guy. You think that they come in?
That's why this question is so hard right now.
Yeah, it's like there is landing situations where he's not. If he goes to like Colts, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, Colts is probably the most optimistic place for him getting a lot of starts next year. Or obviously if he goes 1-2 and which we're not projecting, but could still happen.
I don't even think he even goes that early though. That's the other part that's scary. It's like, people were talking about Malik Willis like this last year. Like, oh my God, like Willis is like this guy that's gonna go in the first, and he went in the third.
Yeah, it wasn't. It's not the exact same though. I don't think that comparison is the same.
Fair.
Anthony Richardson played in the SEC versus Liberty. Like the level of competition he faced and everything. So I'm not as worried about a potential fall like that. I think it's different situations.
I mean, how long did it take for Pickett to start? But then he lost his job.
Like 2 games?
No, I think it was more than that.
Was
he also lost his job too.
Yeah, that was weird, but I mean, still, like, I don't know. I'll look it up and see how many games he started last year. But I mean, it's just so landing spot dependent. But you're right. I mean, maybe I'm overestimating. I just kind of think guys who get top 10 capital, they just see the field. Like we just see it every time.
If he gets like top 4, I think you're right that he sees the field. I still think that would be very particular to like top 5. If he gets like pick 18 though, like I don't know if he's going to go out there.
Yeah, Pickett started 12 games. So okay. I think that's about the line.
But that was like Trubisky though, which is like I would say way worse than like Brissett.
I don't know. See, I think that's a similar. I think that's a similar comparison, like the Brissett how and then Pickett ends up playing 12 games, not having 2 guys there, which he's not going there anyway. But
I mean, like let's say Tua sat basically his first year, a good chunk of it. Yeah. And he was a top 5 pick.
That's fair.
His was more of a health concern, I suppose, but I don't know. I think with Richardson, since he's that raw, it could be kind of scary for him. But you also see Josh Allen, who started rather quickly too, though. But
he did.
Making at quarterback.
I mean, they were, but that's a good point too. Like the Josh Allen. I mean, I was right there with everyone. I mean, so many people. I know Bills fans that were just like distraught that they took Josh Allen. I thought he was horrible, and so that's kind of where I'm coming from with like quarterback prospects now. And I know it's lame. Like everyone's got to have these just huge takes and everything, but we've just seen like it's not perfect. The translation from college to the NFL. Like so many people thought Josh Allen was just terrible, and he comes out and he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So like, I don't know. I'm just kind of like let things play out. Is kind of like the mode.
Same for Justin Herbert. People hated Justin Herbert when he came in.
Exactly the same. He wasn't a leader. All the crazy stuff they said about him.
He's inaccurate. His hair sucks. Like it was a whole like list of like people just did not like him, and then he ended up being like the best quarterback in his class, or at least the top end of it. So I don't know. I think, like I said, over under depends on the team, but let's say he ends up where he should be, which is I think a middle of the pack quarterback.
You're talking about middle of the first round?
Middle of the first round, the type of zone. I think 4 games, 4 or less. Because I think Lamar even started late in his first year, but he was a pick 32 guy, though.
Yeah, I'm getting excited to do some super flex. I'm not as familiar with it. It was actually one of my worst contests last year, the puppy super flex, but I'm excited to dive back in. I never really played any type of super flex last year, so I feel like I've got a lot better strategies coming in, and I'm excited. What's your opinion on Superflex? Do you play it much at all in like any of your home leagues, or play any dynasty stuff with Superflex?
So dynasty is exclusively usually like Superflex, I've noticed, and I get my ass kicked in dynasty. By the way, I completely get my ass kicked in dynasty, but I didn't do that bad last year. But I also didn't do good. I kept trying to push like quarterback and get like Davis Mills and shit, and that's why I floundered a lot on.
You can't do that. Superflex.
No, I didn't want to, but it was like, man, like I can get this like amazing receiver running back this late, and then, like I'm like, well, I'm going to, and then it always kind of like backfired.
It is tough when you're like, oh, I can get CMC and Cup on the same team.
Exactly, like that kind of situation. But I will say this much: so my puppy butt Superflex, I had a 37% advance rate, and then my regular big board Superflex, I had a 37% advance rate. My Palm Superflex, I had a 100%. Oh, actually, I did that bad. I did pretty good at Superflex. I thought I did a lot worse.
No, you did way better. I mean, my Superflex advance rate, I think on like it was like 70 something teams, was literally like 12%. I mean, I was horrible in it, but I also had a lot of Trey Lance and a lot of Tom Brady, and so I kind of look at it like if I would have just picked 2 other quarterbacks there, like did I really build? This is gonna sound dumb because obviously I took those players where I took them. But they were kind of going in that 1-2 turn of super flex, and it's like if I prioritized someone else, would I have done as back? I mean, I had a lot of Trey Lance at that time, and a good
I
amount
hate you,
of
Trey
Brady.
Lancers. I hate you guys so much. God.
I mean, the Superflex was a pretty early contest too, so like, I mean, he was the starter, like so. This is what we knew he was going to be the starter, which he was, and so I don't feel as bad about that. But I don't know. So I think like I'm excited to give it another shot this year for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Superflex is definitely interesting. I didn't think I did that well. I thought I did bad, but I guess I did pretty good. I think it's a fun contest because it is different. It does shape things up. I will say though, God, like it's not an easy. There's really no autopiloting because you can get all sorts of draft. You can get a draft where like quarterbacks fall 2 or 3 rounds, and you can get a draft where all the quarterbacks go in the first 3, and then you're out there like scrambling for backups. I will say though, ambiguous quarterbacks, I think are worth a shot because you get the 20 rounds again. Like last year, if you were just like Geno or Drew Lock, right? You were making money because they costed you nothing. You went like Trubisky Pickett kind of sucked, but like you were getting something out of it, or you're playing for just the backup. But like Geno Lock was an amazing pick. Like, and Jacoby Brissett, Deshaun Watson, right? Like, well, no one's really taking Watson, but we'll take Jacoby with him in case of, and like that paid off pretty well.
It did, but you still needed the elite guys to have a chance.
No, true. But I meant like as your third, fourth guy. Like if you have 2 quarterbacks and you get a third, fourth to like trying to throw things in, like why not? I thought that was great. And shout out to Eagles for James for like telling me to take Geno Smith last year. And I hated Geno Smith. I was like, oh, I'd rather have Drew Lock.
I wish I'd have been better friends than you guys at that point because I literally didn't draft him a single time last year.
I mean, I was all aboard.
Well, maybe I did in like the puppy 3 when we kind of knew he was gonna be the starter. I think I did a few times there, but I was just so out on Seattle overall. But yeah, no, I'm excited to give it another shot here. You're coming back up.
Yeah.
What does your team look like? Let's take a look here. It always changes.
Gonna get my boy.
Van.
I love Van, man. I gotta get Van Jeff. See, everybody knows what's up. It's all about that Van Jefferson, Tyler Higbee combos. I gotta get there. Gotta get it going. People are gonna hate on it, but it works. But yeah. Oh yeah. So my backyard best ball, I was like complete doo-doo boner. So bad. I'm looking at I always have my thing to remind me like to keep to myself on which contest I was terrible in, just to make sure. But yeah, I thought I did bad at Superflex, but actually I did not do as good as I did.
Yeah, that's a good advance right there.
Yeah, I mean big board I did really well. Palms I was doing really well. Palms everybody did well in Palms.
Yeah, I mean you so many teams advanced. Like if you just know how to build a well-structured
roster.
yeah, you did good in Pomeranians.
Man, I thought that was hilarious. I did so bad at like backyard best ball though. I got crushed in backyard best ball. And then my rookies and sophomores were like 0 for 4. I only did 4. I got completely wrecked. I just can't, man. I'm not good. I'm not built for that.
Yeah, no, everyone has their different strengths. I mean, if you're not a college person, if you're not like into the whole scouting thing, then the rookies aren't going to be, it's good too that you know your strengths and know to like, not waste your bankroll just because there's the open contest. I think that's another thing too, like that I've got to get better at and not just like, oh, open contest, we got a fire on it.
So me and James were at the airport and I told him, I was like, if I could win any contest, besides like BBM, I'd be like, I would love to win like the backyard because that'd be the funniest thing to be like, I'm the backyard best ball champion, like on stream. Like this is like the most like random, does not relate to most of best ball at all champion. It didn't even pay a lot. I think it paid like 10K, so like it wasn't anything. But I was like,
wasn't anything. I would take it.
But being that champion would have been the funniest one. It would have been
and being any type of champion, Underdog is awesome.
Yeah, we don't have rings like you. Okay, I'm sorry. We're about to finish this up. You got Noah. Your team's is pretty solid actually.
I actually like it.
You really grouped up those receivers well towards the middle. Yeah. Oh, funny. You took Quentin Johnson and Addison. They UD just did like a stream on Quentin today.
I saw that.
And I commented on it. I made a relevant joke, but a real comment was, so I actually when I look at Jordan Addison and Quentin Johnson, I was saying like it reminds me of Kevin White to Amari Cooper when they came in, where one guy is like high production but lower athletics, and the other guy's higher athletics, low production but more raw. But Cooper obviously was a better talent
Was
than
it?
John.
Yeah, Cooper
But like
was
it's the
big
idea though.
and a good athlete. But I get what you're
He,
saying. Like,
he was a but actually his athletic score was on the lower side. Cooper was a lower athletic receiver. He wasn't like scoring the 90 percentile. He was like in the 80s. He was just an amazing route runner. And like Kevin White was like this, they're both supposed to go in the first round. The Raiders were scheduled to were, projected to take Kevin White or Derek Carr. Sorry, Kevin White or Amari Cooper. Like that was that how close they were. And I think of Quentin Johnson and Addison, I'm like, this is just that situation, but with not as good talent. One raw prospect that's tall, 6'3", a burner, can kind of get, make great big plays. And then you got the route runner guy who produced a lot of points in the NFL and in college, which actually Addison did. So I was actually, when you have the ball, it just reminded me of that because it just reminds me of the Cooper versus Kevin White situation.
Cooper was a pretty good athlete. I pulled it up. He did not have a good vertical, but I mean, he was 6 foot 211.
6'1" and
6'1", 211, ran a 4.4, had a 6.73 cone. He had a really good short shuttle. But yeah, you're right. 8.56 RAS. So that's,
and he scored like for NFL combine score. They gave him an 82. Cooper got an 82, which isn't like bad.
Tell, like he had such good 3-cone and short shuttle because of the route running. Makes sense.
He was a better prospect. He's one of the highest rated rookies ever graded on the combine. He's like one of the few guys ever got 7 points. But like I said, this is when you compare production to athleticism, and the other version is athleticism to production. It kind of gives me that vibes, especially since one of them was like 6 foot flat, and the other guy's like 5'11", and both Quentin Johnson and Kevin White are 6'3", 6'4" monsters. Like it's just interesting. I kind of feel like this was just like, this is like poetry, right? It just rhymed it back into.
It's similar. It's a similar comp.
I mean, both talents are worse than Kevin White and Amari Cooper coming into the year. Kevin White was, very touted. Wasn't for his injuries, he could have been a really good player.
Potentially, yeah.
But yeah, it's something to think about. Like, because no one's saying Quentin Johnson and Jordan Addison should be going top 5 picks.
No, they're not those type of guys at all.
Exactly, but Kevin White and Cooper were rated in the top 8.
No,
picks.
I know they were. Yeah. I mean,
as I said, I just thought it was just funny. I'm like, this is interesting because when I look at it, I'm like, damn.
It's just like a worse version.
Yeah, I'm curious though, like if Quentin's really gonna put up. I've been taking Addison. I do like more finished products. I mean, I took AJ Brown his rookie year over DK Metcalf, like those type of. I like guys that they consider are more pro ready. Although it could be wrong. I mean,
even both of them at Ole Miss, like, wasn't it AJ Brown that said like they didn't even like run routes or something? They had those hilarious quotes coming out of college there.
And I trust, like, we give the scouts a lot of crap, but I do trust them and the scouts to say like this guy's more pro ready than another. I mean, it was true. AJ Brown was way more pro ready than DK Metcalf. So it's just something to like always take a tidbit, a kind of a note to remember. Oh God, my quarterbacks are so bad.
Your quarterbacks are not bad.
Yes, they are. Okay.
I was gonna take Desmond Ridder.
Well, too bad. Enjoy your 2 QBs with Anthony Richardson.
I'm gonna take Tannehill or Brissett. Actually, I'm taking the Commander's starter.
Man, I remember when Cooper came out, I was so hyped on him his rookie year. I was like, I'm going to draft this guy. So I took him. I paid like hella money for my auction league, but it's just fun. Anyways, I just thought about that. I think Addison's going to be interesting.
Yeah, Cooper's season with Lane Kiffin at OC was unreal. I mean, he got invited to the Heisman. I think he finished 3rd. Yeah, it was awesome.
Do you think he held up to
2015 class? That was my senior year of high school. I was at all those games.
Boo. I'm old. Boo. I was already working. I think it was funny about like Coop though. I remember watching his games. He had Jason Verrett on him, like because he had to play against Jason Verrett. Jason Verrett was an amazing corner at the time, and he just broke that man off. And I was like, this guy's gonna be such a crazy star. And which actually kind of sucks about Cooper is his career's been good.
Yeah, he's been good,
but it's not been like Hall of Fame level or Ring of Honor level, like All Pro level. And I think that's interesting because he was, like I said, one of the more touted guys And I don't know. That kind of sucks. Do you think he lived up to it though? Like his actual pick and
No,
hype?
I can agree with you that I think that people thought he a little higher than what he has done. I think were the expectations for sure. Um, Not much. I mean, he's been a great player, but yeah, I would agree that people thought he'd be a little bit more of a difference maker than he was. Just
You're not gonna take Tannehill?
no.
Damn.
Give me another rookie.
I love
Got a lot of
Tannehill.
rookies
As a
on the
Dolphins
team.
fan, I'll always have a soft spot for Tannehill. He's my boy. Ryan Manahill, by the way, is what I call him. Dude's a tank, man.
I like this team a lot.
You see it destroyed. Oh, my team is not that good. I messed up on the running backs a little bit. I was like, I could probably grab Jeff Wilson later, and I was like, no, I'll wait. And then they never came because you took them.
Your running backs are fine. You have 3 good running backs.
Yeah.
And Derrick Henry.
My boy Derrick, you're such a dick. You can leave Derrick Henry alone, all right? He's good. People said the same thing about him last year, and he still put up. He's gonna keep beating people. AP ran until he was like 35. All right.
That was good times.
I just can't watch college games. I'm sorry. I am excited though for the game to come out.
We gotta get you into some college games.
No, I want to.
Nothing beats Saturday in Tuscaloosa.
I'm talking about the video. I want the NCAA video games to come out. That's what I want.
No, that'll
we
be.
We haven't had one since 2014 or whatever.
2014 was the last one.
That's a good game. I want it back. I want that.
Oh, I had all of this growing up. Me and my brother used to play. We'd create race for the Heismans. We'd create seasons. It was a great game.
So that's what I want. That's what I'm excited for. I think it comes out next year. Hopefully they bring back a lot of like make your own college and stuff. And
I'm sure it'll be fun.
I hope. I doubt it.
Let's see how you end your draft here.
I don't know.
Developed any of like late round, like 20th round darts? Because I've seen a lot of people like talk about some of these rookies, like Jaden Reed, isn't Evan Hull, that running back.
My receivers are pretty decent. I'm gonna be a weirdo.
Joshua Kelly.
In case Eckler gets traded, I got the starter.
Handcuffing your RB so much.
Costs you nothing. And can gain so
except
much.
Potential upside you could have from
at round 20. There's not a lot of guys I like. The other guy I was contemplating was Hollins. I contemplated Hollins.
There it is.
But I liked my 8 receivers. I don't really like my tight ends too much. I'm a little questionable.
Your tight ends are fine. It's tight ends.
I don't like them that much.
You have 2 good ones.
I think my team's like, it's okay.
It's a good team.
I can't wait to get this like $7 at the end of the year. So still like I invested $3 in March.
Underdog dropped the super flex, so we don't have to draft any more cash games.
I think they have to pay.
They definitely will be paying the players. Yeah, every player will get some type of stipend for sure.
I remember they were talking about but that's the idea. Like we're supposed to get it back next year. EA is gonna mess it up, but it's okay.
They will. I'm excited for the new PGA Tour game that's coming out next week or this weekend. Something right before the Masters. It's gonna be fun.
All right, who's the highest projected? Let's see.
Where would that be? I don't know how to find cash games.
It's right there. It's gonna be 12-person draft. Do a full draft. Oh, mine's on my screen. What am I doing?
2165. Oh, you're 700 points higher. You win. There it is.
All right. I'm not up there at all. Damn, someone has 3,300. Oh, it's because he took 4 quarterbacks. He took Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Jimmy G, and Baker. Oh my God. That's a lot of QBs. Why would he take that? I don't know. Oh, well.
All right.
I won't question their teams. We'll see what happens when what's the prize on this? If I can't win BBM, I have to at least look to this prize.
It's like $30.
When I win either my money back, $9 or $20 in 7 months. All right, guys. Like I said, thanks for hanging out. We're gonna do another show next week. We know there wasn't like a real contest, but we believe a contest is coming soon. Little board is closing tomorrow morning. So if you didn't finish your little boards, like myself, knock them out.
70% full. Overlay is awesome. Hopefully we'll have the Superflex big board coming out. Are the rumors, so that would be awesome. I'll be back Saturday night. I think it's gonna be pretty NBA focused late night drafts. So we'll see on that. Maybe do some super flex if that gets dropped as well. But that'll be fun Saturday night. If you guys don't mind dropping a sub, if you haven't yet, it really does mean a lot, or a like, or things like that. I'm not good about asking for that stuff, but would
I'll do
greatly
it.
appreciate
Like
it.
and or subscribe. We're trying to get to Mr. Beast numbers by like the end of the year. Okay, like I'm gonna be doing giveaways. I'll give you my mouse that I use on
Wow.
these drafts. No, I'm just kidding. There we go. See, not too bad.
But yeah, that's gonna do it for me and Davis. The first time we've had a show where we decided on the name, The Road to 150, and hopefully you guys will join us back next time.
Have a good night.
Peace.